In this video, I'm going to show you how I created this affordable summer makeup look on my mature over 50 skin. We're going to do an all-day wear test. We'll do a 4-hour check-in. We're going to go out in natural light and see how it's fared, and then we'll come back at the end of the day and I'll give you my final thoughts. Oh, and hello and welcome back, or welcome if you're new. My name is Des. I'm a 70-year-old Brit who loves to share beauty, fashion and lifestyle tips for the over 50 woman. So without further ado, let me show you my summer affordable makeup look. So before we start, let me just tell you a bit about my skin. First of all the products I'll be using today are fragrance free because I'm allergic to fragrance or particular ingredients in fragrance, and also vanillin. So anything with vanilla in it I have to steer clear of, and that does limit my choices somewhat. Although I'm happy to say that it's much easier than it used to be to find products that don't contain fragrance. However, in the affordable range of products, it's a little bit more difficult, particularly when it comes to lipsticks, but we'll come on to that a bit later. And also to say that I've prepped my skin. I've got my SPF on, I've got my toner on, and I've got my under eye cream on. And that's basically my morning skincare. And the details of those products will be down below in the description box as well if you're interested. Now, let us start with a fairly new kid on the block, although I am a bit late to the party, and that is the ELF Halo Glow Skin Tint SPF 50. Now, quite a few of my friends on YouTube have reviewed this product, and I will link their channels or their videos down below in the description box as well, because their complexions are different to mine. The other thing I should have said, of course, is my skin is normal. It's not particularly dry, it's not particularly oily. It does tend to combination, and it certainly was combination when I was younger, but I would say it's rarely combo now. It's pretty normal, however sensitive to fragrance. So that's the skin we're dealing with, and let me tell you a little bit about the skin tint if you haven't seen any of the reviews to date. First of all, it's quite pricey, even though we're talking affordables today, and ELF is an affordable range. This retails for around about £16 or $19, and all the products that I talk about will be listed and linked in the description box below and also in the top comment. So this is one of my lovely friends, Tina of Tina Her Beautiful Journey, pointed out that this is about at least twice, if not 3 times more expensive than the ELF Soft Glam or Soft Glow foundation. I never quite remember the title. So it is pricey. However, of course, it does contain SPF. And I think I'm right in saying it's a bigger bottle. It certainly feels quite heavy. And it's a mineral sunscreen. Now, I'm not particularly bothered whether a sunscreen is mineral or chemical. They don't really affect me. As long as I don't get a white cast, I don't mind. And this does say that it doesn't give a white cast. But some of the reviews are quite interesting because this is meant to provide a light, buildable coverage with a natural, dewy finish. And it's one of those your skin but better products, so it says. And interestingly, some of the reviews say that they don't find it buildable, that they find it too sheer. But I have been testing it out over the last few days, and I found it to be quite medium in coverage, actually. So I think what we'll do is I'm going to apply it to one side of my complexion first and leave the other side clear, just so we can compare and contrast to see what sort of coverage we're going to get. Now, I'm tempted to use a brush because that's what I've been using for all my skin tints, actually. So I think we will use a brush today. I'm going to try and keep the number of tools down as best I can. I'm going to use this brush, which is one of my favorites. It's not affordable. This is the Merit brush, but I absolutely love it. I partly love it because it's short, as opposed to the BK Beauty foundation brush, which has a long handle. So I'm just going to put some on the back of my hand. It is quite runny. Now, just while we're doing that, while we're applying it to this side of my complexion, I just want to say something about the SPF issue. Now, oh, and I didn't tell you what shade I'm in. Sorry, I'm in, what shade am I in? I think I'm in light neutral, 04. Yes, I'm in light neutral. What was I just saying? I've forgotten now. Oh yes, about the SPF. Yeah, so I want to say something about the SPF. Now, I don't rely on any of my makeup to provide my SPF, but I do think it's really interesting that quite a lot of brands have decided to put SPF in their tinted moisturizers. Now, I don't know why they've decided to do that, but they all seem to have decided to do it at the same time. Because there's this one, there's the Merit, there's, I think, the Jones, no, maybe not the Jones Road. There's a few anyway. It's not just this one and the Merit. There is another one. Can't remember what that is off the top of my head. Anyway, it is what it is. And we know that foundations do it too. And we usually ignore the fact that SPF is in a foundation and we add our own SPF first anyway. And that's what I'm doing in this instance with these skin tints. Now to me, this looks like medium, light to medium coverage, certainly not very light. I mean, it may be I've applied too much, but as you saw, I've only done it on one application. I haven't added any more to my brush or to my complexion. So I think that's probably heavier coverage than I get with some of my other skin tints. Let me zoom you in so you can have a look at both sides. I would say that's light medium coverage. Right, let me do the other side now. Just put a tiny bit more. I think I put too much on my hand to begin with. And we'll do the other side. I did find when I'd been using it before that it did congeal a little bit around my nose, so I have to be a bit careful. So I think once we've done this, we will go in with a damp beauty sponge and just make sure that everything's smoothed out. I think the shade is a quite good one for me. I can't remember off the top of my head. I think it's about 16 shades it comes in. Some other comments in the reviews did say that it had a thicker consistency than other skin tints, and I definitely find that. If I think about, say, the Merit or what's one of my faves, the Glossier, that's much thinner. But interestingly, some say it's thinner. So it just shows we are all very different and we all have very different experiences and very different skins, of course. Right, let's just go over that with a damp beauty sponge. Right, I'm just going to check around my nose. Let's have a look. There's a bit of gathering, but it's very difficult to know whether that's just my nose or my skin rather, or the skin tint, but I think that's looking quite good. And we are going to do an all-day wear test, so although I'm very late starting today, it's 11:30 already, we will come back in 4 hours and then at the end of the day as well, just to check and see how it's doing. Okay, that is the foundation. Right, sticking with affordables, we are now going to use a L'Oreal concealer, and these concealers, or rather this concealer, but I've got it in 2 shades, is the L'Oreal True Match, and I reviewed this in my concealer ranking from a few months ago, and this came out second out of all the concealers I tried, well, 5 of them, but some of them were high-end, and this beat the Armani Luminous Silk Concealer, and I think it's really good. Now, for some reason or other, I got it in 2 shades, which are, I think, 2N and 2C. So just to show you the shades, this is 2N. That's 2N. And 2C, I think, is more rosy. And let's just swatch that as well. Yes, you can see that's rosy. In fact, I would say that the neutral is actually a little bit on the warm side. That isn't necessarily a bad thing, but I think what we might do is we might mix the two. So let's put a bit of the rosy shade and then a bit of the more neutral / warm shade, like so. And then what we're going to do, this is my new technique, we're going to leave that to sit a little bit while we do our eyebrows. And for our eyebrows, we're going to use the Powder Lauder by NYX. This is one of my holy grail affordable pencils. It rivals, I would say, although it's not quite as good, but it does rival the Laura Mercier eyebrow pencil, which I love. But it is similar because it's got the spoolie at one end, it's got the pencil at the other end. Actually, that could do with a bit of a sharpen, but let's see how we get on. So we'll just brush up our brows like so. And then we will try not to be heavy-handed with the pencil. This is one of my things I have to learn not to do, is to be heavy-handed with all my applications. We're going to be very gentle. Now, I have my brows laminated recently. Well, when was it? It was a couple of months ago, and actually they seem to have lasted very well. I'm about to move house, and not just move house, but move out of London. And I need to find out where I'm moving to, where the nearest salon is that does not just brow lamination, but also my absolute love is to have my eyelashes lifted. I couldn't live without that now, I really couldn't. I couldn't go back to eyelash curlers. So I need to find out where my nearest salon is. And I want to find the one that does the exact treatment that my local salon uses, which is called Elibana, I think. It's an Australian brand. There we are. I think that looks nice. Maybe we'll just brush them up a bit more. And by now our concealer will have dried down a bit, so we can go in with the damp beauty sponge, which is the way I tend to apply my concealer. Well, not apply, but tend to sheer it out. So I usually use the flat side, actually. And I know you might think this looks bonkers, but it seems to work for me. And then I will go in with my fingers to check that it's all smoothed out nicely. Yeah, can you see how quickly that's smoothed out, actually? I think that's pretty good. I see a rogue eyelash somewhere. There we are. Come on. Come on. I mean, look how quickly that's blended. That is the sign of a good concealer, I would say. Okay, right, we'll just let that sit for a moment while I talk to you about the powder that I'm going to use. Now, I haven't used this for a while, but this I discovered via Risa, of Risa Does Makeup, and it is the Wet n Wild Photofocus Translucent Powder, and it's incredibly reasonably priced. I did a big declutter recently and I did get rid of quite a lot of my powders, but I have gone back to using a loose powder. I was all about pressed powder before, but I've decided to go back to loose powder. Having watched Nikki LaRose, she's my new favourite content creator and of course celebrity makeup artist, and she's so good. And she did a video a couple of months ago where she talked about how to apply long-lasting makeup, and I used that video as my guide when I made myself up for a recent wedding that I went to, and I'll link that video down below for you if you haven't seen it. And she used a loose powder for that, so I decided to go back to trying loose powders. So we're going to use this Wet n Wild. It's a huge container. I'll never get through it all. I think I must have had it for a year now, but I think it's okay still. And what we'll do is we'll just pop some in the lid so that we don't get too much. I'll probably put too much there already, actually. And then we're going to use Angie Hot and Flashy's concealer brush, which I quite like for powder, which is the collab she did with BK Beauty. You have to buy the whole set with some of her brushes, but this you can get on Amazon. And having tapped all that off, let's see if we can apply it to our under eyes like so. There, just a little bit, just to set the concealer. Because what we're after here, and I should have said this at the outset really, we want a lovely glowy, affordable summer makeup. So summer makeup is not about matte, it's about glowy, which is difficult for me in a way because I've always been a matte girl, but over the last year or so, since I turned 70, I think I've decided that actually matte is not always a good look for an older skin. Glowy is definitely better, but of course there's a fine line between glowy and oily. Right, let's just take a little bit more and put some on the lid, like so. Now, I'm very excited to be trying these new ELF No Budge sticks because I think the only No Budge stick by ELF I had before was in a kind of boring brown, and I think I decluttered it because I just didn't like it very much. I didn't think it was a very exciting shade. But I decided to try a couple of much more exciting ones. And these are Champagne Crystal and Copper something. I've forgotten the second part of the name. So let me swatch them for you. I'm sorry, I can't remember the full name. So this is Champagne Crystal. So that's Champagne Crystal. Quite pale, isn't it? I didn't realise it was going to be that pale. And this is darker. This is the Copper something or other, which I've now forgotten. But I think we could use both actually. So we've got Champagne Crystal and we've got Copper something or other. Copper TBC. So we're going to try those, and I haven't tried them out at all. They're brand new, opened just today. I think what we might do is we might try Champagne Crystal all over the lid and then just come in at the sides with the Copper. Actually, that's not really showing up, is it? It might be okay for the inner corner. But on my lids, it's not really showing up. But we'll put it all over anyway, and then we'll go over with the copper and see what we can do with that. Because like I say, these are brand new on today. I mean, it's pretty, but it's sort of a topper shade, isn't it, really? Which I'm not sure works in a stick. Okay, let's go in with the copper now. Oh yeah, that's more like it, isn't it? That is more like it. Now, I'll tell you something. They are a bit pointy, these, which in a stick is probably not quite what you want. I would say you want something a bit fatter in a stick, because it does make the application slightly more tricky. But I think that's a really pretty shade. Let's see if we can just bring it up into the crease a bit. I might get a brush in a second. Yeah, the pointy tip is not ideal. As you can see, I'm having to tug quite a bit. So I'm not loving that, but I am loving the shade. Let's get a little brush. This is a tiny brush. I think this is an old Beauty Pie even brush, just to take that up into the crease a bit. And I think you have to move quite quickly because it says it's a no budge. But I think that's really pretty, don't you? It's a pretty light summery colour. Right, the next thing we're going to do is I'm going to apply this Max Factor pencil to my waterline just to brighten my eyes a little bit, because they can look a little bit red because of the hay fever going on at the moment. So I'm just going to add this. Now this pencil, I think the shade is discontinued, but I've put below the current shade, which is very similar. And then we'll apply mascara. Now, I have made a recent discovery. I'm so late to the party with these things. I've decided that I actually prefer, at the moment anyway, a tubing mascara. Now, you could have knocked me down with a feather if you told me I was going to prefer a tubing mascara a few months ago to my regular Va-Va-Voom type mascaras, like the YSL Lash Clash, like the, what's the other one I love, the MAC Stack. But I've realised that actually they're giving me very natural, fluttery looking lashes without looking clumpy, without looking heavy. It's all part of my minimalist makeup look that I seem to be leaning into at the moment. So that's what I'm enjoying using, and in that regard I have this Revolution Lash Wrap. No, Wrap Lash Mascara. Try saying that lots of times very quickly. The Revolution Wrap Lash Mascara. And as you can see, it comes in a big tube, and I've used it about 6 or 7 times now, and you've got a rubbery wand, and I'm really enjoying using it, and I'm learning how to remove it at night with warm water. It took me a little while to get used to the removal process, but I've got there now, I think. So that's what we're going to do. And I find it is giving me length, which is great, without, well, I say without too much clumping. There is a tiny bit of clumping going on, but it may be partly my lashes as well. So we can't blame it all on the mascara. And this is my bad eye, as it were. This is the one where I've got a sort of gap. I don't know if that's showing on camera, but between the lashes here and then there's a gap, and then there's more lashes there. But as you can see, there's a big difference between this side and this side without any application. And that's just one coat. See, sometimes I can comb them like this or brush them, but then sometimes I have to use the tip. Now, the other thing I've started doing as well, I suppose to sort of balance out my eyes, is to put it on my bottom lashes, which I used to do 3 or 4 years ago, but haven't done for ages. But I've started to do that, so we're going to do that today. Now let's put another coat on here. There we are. I mean, that's pretty Va-Va-Voom, given it's a tubing mascara. By the way, I will go out in natural light as well and show you how it all looks. And then do the check-ins later on, so we'll do that first. See, this side hasn't clumped as much, and I think, well, in fact, it hasn't really clumped at all. And I think it's probably due to my bad removal of mascara the other day. Don't tell anyone. So there we are. That's 2 coats. Let me do the bottom lashes now. I may not be able to talk to you while I do that, because I'm not sure I can do both at once. There's a tiny bit of fallout, but it's not the end of the world. Actually here it's more tricky, I might have to use, oh. Right, let's clear up this little dropping. Now I'm going to use the I'm going to use the ELF Camo Concealer, not Camo Concealer, come on Des, get it right. The ELF Camo Liquid Blushes. And I'm also going to use this, which is fairly new to me. I don't know if it's new to the market, and that's the ELF Camo Liquid Bronzer and Contour. Just to confuse matters, it's a contour and a bronzer in one. So first of all, let's decide what shade we're going to use. Let me swatch these for you. I have shown these many times before on my channel, but just in case you haven't seen them, one of them is called Dusty Rosé, which I think might be that one. And the other one is called, and of course I can't remember. Let me put my glasses on. It's called, you'd think I'd know it by now. Oh, I remember it before I even look at it. It's called Suave Mauve. That's it. Although, oh, do you know what? I think that's the Suave Mauve, isn't it? And that's the Dusty Rosé. There you are. They are beautiful shades. I think we might go with this one. We might go with the Dusty Rosé today because we don't want to go mauve. I think we want to go a bit light. So let's just pop some on here like so. Okay. And then I think we'll use this BK Beauty brush to sheer it out. I may have overdone it a bit actually. I think I've put too much on, but not to worry, we'll sort it out in a sec. We don't want to come too far down. We need to make sure. Oh yeah, I've definitely overdone it on this side. Let me sheer it out a bit. Yeah, maybe I should have stuck to the sponge, which is what I usually do. Just come down a bit, like so. Actually, I'm really liking the eyeshadow. I think it's kind of settled down and looking rather good. There, that's better, isn't it? That's much better. And now we'll use the bronzer slash contour, which also has a doe foot. And we'll just dot that here. We're running out of space, aren't we? And then maybe we'll just do it here, given it says it's also a contour. Let's get rid of those jowls if we can. Actually, do you know what? Let's put a bit under here just for... it under here. It's a bit of fun, isn't it? It's supposed to make your lips look fuller. Just don't want to look like we've got a beard though, that's the only thing. Right, let's get the sponge again. Let's give a bit of definition and a bit of colour. Do you know what? I haven't talked about bronzing drops lately after I had that bit of a debacle with them, a bit of a horror show. When was it? It was a few weeks ago now when I was, oh that's right, when I was doing my spring summer skincare video. I'll link that down below if you had. I made a right pig's ear of the whole thing and I've kind of gone off them now. I don't find that I need them really because I'm happy to put colour into my skin with a bronzer. I don't really find I need the bronzing drops. But let me know whether you really like them. I'm just not, yeah, I'm just not sure they're really for me. There we are. Now we're going to be trying another new to me product, and I think new to the market or fairly new. The ELF Halo Glow Beauty Wand Highlighter. Now, not to be confused with the Halo Glow that comes with a big doe foot in the glass bottle. This is a wand. And it's probably a dupe for one of the old Charlotte Tilbury's. I can't really remember. I actually haven't bought a Charlotte Tilbury product for a while, but I just ordered the blushers, by the way. The, is it Unreal Skin Blusher or something? So yes, that should be arriving in the next few days. We'll talk about that soon. But there was something about this. I don't know where I saw it or who I saw it demonstrating it, but it just looked right up my alley. So I decided to give it a go. Now, as you can see, it has the dreaded sponge tip applicator, which I know a lot of people don't like, but because it's a small bottle, You'd probably get through this quite quickly, I guess, if you were using a highlighter all the time. And I know some people think that it's unhygienic to have a sponge applicator, but it depends how quickly you use it, I suppose. Now this is about £7, I think, £6–7, so it's not very expensive. And what you're supposed to do is pump a little bit out. Let's just see if we can. And the reason I was attracted to this is actually, in a way, I thought it would be sort of more like a bronzer highlighter. I think that's what I thought would be attractive about it, and I think it is this shade. It comes in, I think it's about 5 or 6 shades. Oh, there we are. Right, I'm getting a blob out of it now, so let me just swatch it for you. Let's put it here. Can you see what I mean? It's got that pinky bronzy glow, which I just thought was so attractive. I mean, in a way, it's kind of like the halo glow mixed with, I don't know, some lovely bronzer, I'm not sure. Anyway, it's a beautiful shade. So let's apply it to my, oh, I'm running out. Let's just apply it here. It is a beautiful shade, isn't it? Now, looking at the reviews, some people said that they thought it showed up their texture too much, but I find that that happens to me with powder rather than cream, so I'm hoping that's not going to be the case. Now, I have tried it out a little bit over the last few days, and I think it's looked really good, but let's see today now. Oh, I mean, it's so beautiful. How gorgeous is that shade, don't you think? I'm just going to zoom you in so you can see whether you think it is making my texture look more obvious. What do you think? I think it's beautiful. Now, lip pencil. I'm just going to apply my Holy Grail NYX pencil, which I've talked about many times on this channel. I have it in, I think it's called Natural Beige. It's a very affordable pencil. I think it's about 4 or 5 quid. It's amazingly inexpensive, and I think it's a great all-round pencil, and it is a bit My Lips But Better. Now, lipstick, affordable lipstick is very, very difficult for me because so many affordable lipsticks contain fragrance, either citral or limonene or geraniol or any of those ingredients that I'm allergic to, or vanilla. In fact, a lot of non-affordable Charlotte Tilbury lipsticks contain vanilla or vanillin. So very, very difficult. So I haven't bought a new lipstick. I'm going to revisit a couple of old favourites, but this is an affordable summer look. So we're going to make it as light as we possibly can. We don't want to go matte. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to use one of my all-time favourite lipsticks, which you can see has had quite some wear. And this is a Revolution lipstick. So what we're going to do is I'm going to apply this, but then on top of it, to gloss it out a bit, because this is a cream lipstick, I think, or satin, so it's okay for summer, but I'd like to make it a little bit glossier, a little bit oilier perhaps. But trying to find a lip oil that's affordable, that doesn't contain fragrance, is really difficult. So I'm going to do my very best. So let's apply the Revolution first. It's a lovely shade, isn't it? So it's a nice pinky creamy shade. In fact, let me swatch that for you. I haven't done that, have I? So let me do that. See, it looks really strong actually on my arm, doesn't it? But it doesn't look quite as strong on my lips because I think it's a bit closer to my actual lip colour. And then what we're going to do is I'm going to apply the Milani plumping lip gloss over the top, but I'm going to be very careful with it because I did a video recently where I talked about my makeup mistakes and how to correct them, and I'll link that down below for you as well. And I did say having too pouty a glossier lip was not a good look, so we're going to be very careful and judicious with our application. And let me just swatch that for you. I bought this last year and I absolutely fell in love with it. That's it there. I haven't used this as much this year, it has to be said, probably because I made that video and thought, actually, do you know what, it is a bit full on, isn't it? So let's just put a little bit over the top. I've not tried to do this before. I've not tried to apply it on top of a lipstick. So let's see. In fact, sometimes they say just put it in the centre, don't they? Whoever they are. What do we think of that? I think that looks rather good actually, because it's not too obviously pouty, is it? It's not trying to be sort of full on glam. Interestingly, you know, this has a really strange fragrance, but when you look up the ingredients, there's no well, there's no fragrance that I'm allergic to in it anyway. Oh, do you know what we're going to do? Now, I'm really sorry, this is not an affordable setting spray. I did have the ELF setting spray, which I really liked, but I had to chuck it because it was out of date. So forgive me. I will put the ELF down below for you because I think it's a really good setting spray, but because I don't have it, we're going to use the All Nighter by Urban Decay. Although it's not very hot today, but even so, it's probably a good idea to set this kind of glowy makeup, isn't it? Just to be on the safe side. Right, there we are. That is the finished look. We're going to come back in 4 hours. We're going to come back again at the end of the day and see how it's fared. But in the meantime, let me just zoom you in and see what you think, and then we'll go out in natural light as well. So here we are, a full face of affordable makeup. Right, let's pop outside in natural light and see how it looks. Quick, better go inside before it rains. Well, here we are at the 4-hour check-in, and I've noticed a few things. So I'm going to zoom you in and tell you what I've observed. Now, it seems to me that there's been some breaking up of the product. First of all, there's definitely some more congealing around here. It's got quite bad, actually. But also what I'm seeing is that my skin is not as smooth as it was when I first applied it. I'm seeing some breaking up here, but here as well, it's just not looking quite as smooth. I am being picky, I know, but I don't usually notice that kind of breaking up in other skin tints that I have, and I wonder if it's partly because it is quite thick, and the mixture of being thick for a skin tint with an SPF, maybe the formulation isn't quite right, maybe not on my skin, but this is what I'm not liking at all. Now, I don't examine every single skin tint every day that I wear it around my nose, but I do think this is quite obvious. So I can't say I'm loving that. And that has been my experience so far when I've tried it over a few days, that it is a little bit thick and it doesn't wear brilliantly on my skin. Here it's not too bad actually, here it's fine. Actually, I'm going to zoom you back in. See here as well, it's breaking up. Yes, not very impressed with that, but I do think that the highlighter looks good and it's still there. The blusher and bronzer have worn off a little bit, but there's still some colour there as well. So I think that's fine for 4 hours. I have been quite busy. I've been out, I've been tidying up and sorting things out today because we're moving soon. So there's been a lot of activity going on. And then I had a little nap. And I'll tell you what is good as well is the mascara hasn't yet smudged. So that's great news, given that I'm wearing it on my bottom lashes as well. But anyway, it's only 3:30. We'll come back at the end of the day and see how it's looking then, and I'll give you my final thoughts. So final check-in, 11 hours. I've been out to the pub. We got some chips on the way back, so I've had sausage and chips and a little bit of ice cream. I did reapply the lipstick because I was going out, and I've got a tiny bit left. I have to say that the lipstick and the Milani gloss on the top did last very well after I'd had the glass of wine, but the food not so much. So let's have a look at what's going on. Let me zoom you in. Now, unfortunately, the congealing around the nose has got really bad. Can you see? That's really not very attractive, is it? And the rest of my complexion is not too bad, but I don't love it. There is some product there. It hasn't completely disappeared or anything, but this is really putting me right off. But let's just briefly talk about the other products before we go into a proper analysis of everything. Now, I think you'll agree that my eyelids are looking very unoily. So I think the stick definitely lives up to its name. The longwear, I think this is called the ELF longwear stick, isn't it? I think that's lived up to its name. So that's done very well. Or both sticks, actually, because I put the lighter shade on first, didn't I? The champagne shade and then the copper shade over the top. The mascara's done very well because I've had 2 naps and we haven't got any flaking at all. And I also think that the highlighter has done well because you can still see it and it hasn't worn off at all on either side, so I think that's done very well. There is a bit of blush there and probably a bit of bronzer under there somewhere as well. There are definitely some remnants, as it were, of the blusher. And although we weren't testing the concealer or powder, I think you'll agree my under eyes look exactly like they did this morning. There's no real creasing or anything like that, so I think they've performed extremely well. So it's really only the skin tint that's let the makeup down, I would say. So earlier today, I checked back with all the content creators that I'd watched talking about the ELF Halo Glow, and the consensus seemed to be, although some people really liked it, in fact the 2 people who really liked it were Tamara of Tamara's Timeless Beauty and Mona Baggett of About Face with Mona. They both loved it. Mona in particular, in fact. And I think it's because, am I right in saying that Mona's got dry skin? I think she has. I know Tamara's got dry skin. Now Tina of Tina Her Beautiful Journey has oily skin and she didn't like it at all, and she tried it in various different ways. And actually I think there might be an issue with the oily T-zone, so to speak, because Tina of Tina's Beautiful Journey and Risa of Risa Does Makeup, neither of them particularly like this as far as I remember, and they both have oily skin. So I wonder if it's to do with my T-zone being a little bit oily of late. So a bit disappointed with that, but I think all the other products have fared well. The only thing I would say is that the pigmentation on the champagne shade of the ELF eyeshadow stick is a little bit too pale for me, but it might suit a different skin. But I am impressed with the fact that the product has stayed on my lids. I didn't put any of my lovely Milani primer under there. I literally just powdered after I powdered my under eyes and had a bit of concealer on. I think that performed really well. And the lipsticks, they're not new to me, but I think actually applying the lipstick, and I'll insert an image of me just after I'd reapplied the lipstick before we went out. I think putting the gloss just in the centre of the bottom lip and maybe slightly at the top wasn't too much of a pout, and I think it looked really nice. So that's it. That is my summer affordable makeup on my over 50 very mature skin. Really hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe to my channel before you leave today and hit the notification bell so that you get notified when I upload more videos. My next video will be on Wednesday. And if you'd like to hear more from me, I have a bi-monthly newsletter, and in that I don't just talk about beauty, I also talk about fashion, other content creators, music, books, podcasts and all the other bits and bobs that bring us joy. And thank you so much for watching. It means the absolute world to me, it really does. And we're actually at 24,500 subscribers now, so I would love to get another 500 subscribers to take me up to 25,000. That'd be such a treat. And thanks again so much for watching, and I look forward to seeing you on my next video. Bye.